Howdy, y'all, and welcome to video number 50, where we will be discussing that you cannot see light. I'm going to try and keep this pretty short. Genuinely, I've been trying to record this for a long time. I have been out driving the countryside for the last 6 days, but I'm returning, trying to jump in with both feet, and I'm just struggling with this. So, first of all, disclaimers. I am not a content creator. I'm not here to entertain you in any way, shape, or form. I am here simply to discuss ideas and this model that I'm attempting to build into a metaphysics, a philosophy, and a religion. All of these things kind of go together. Metaphysics is the structure of how we believe the world works, or at least a story that we tell ourselves. The philosophy is then based upon this model so that we could decide what is moral, what is right, what is wrong. And the religion is, well, religion to me is the rules that you use to make decisions in your life. That's what it is. I don't mean like I'm, some sort of guru kind of thing, start trying to spin off some new religion. That's not what I mean. Trying to build a set of rules that, if you follow, will conform to this metaphysics, this philosophy. And hopefully the general idea is, how do we improve our lives? It's kind of where we're going with this. My dog wants attention right now. And as I always say, attention is the currency of this reality. And it's true for dogs and babies and human beings and, well, plants and everything else. But let's go ahead and get to this fact that we cannot see light. Like I said, I'm really struggling with this, so I'm going to try and make this pretty quick. Imagine you're floating in outer space. The sun's behind you, and you're looking out into the abyss. What do you see? You see blackness. You stick your hand up. Suddenly, your hand is illuminated, and you can see the light suddenly. And that's because, as we're told, that for whatever reason, we can't see light itself, but when it hits something and bounces back, it hits the back of our eyes, and suddenly we can see the light. This is the story that we tell ourselves. Imagine another thing, another situation. Here you are, you're standing on a hill like this, and you're standing up here. Again, the sun's behind you. The sun's coming down. It hits the hill. It has to bounce this way, but for whatever reason, standing up here, the hill is still illuminated. How is that possible? If it's bouncing back at you, or photons that are bouncing back at you. How is it that if you go outside with a piece of paper, if you're close enough to the ground, and you hold it up, how is it creates a shadow on the ground? How is it the most tiniest particle that we know of, the photon? Well, I think there's others, but it's one of the tiniest particles that there is. How does it get through this impossibly large mesh that is paper? There's no way it could stop any of it. Almost 99% or more of those photons should just pour right through the paper. But it doesn't. How do we make those, 40% screens, out of fabric to put over our patios and gardens and whatnot? How does that work? How do our eyes see these impossibly small photons with our cells of our tissues that are amazingly large by comparison? What, millions to one? Something like that? Just speculating. I didn't bother to look it up because it's irrelevant. But as you can see, we seem to have been given a model of how light works that doesn't seem to really be accurate. I think it was Einstein who said, he's thought about light his whole entire life, but he doesn't know what it is. In fact, the matter is, we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a particle or a wave, or it changes based on whether it's observed or not. I'm sure there's some physicist that'll give you some model or other. Tesla, I believe, is the guy that said that it was a vibration of the ether. We've had all these ideas, but science only gives us the way to measure things and describe things. It doesn't really tell us what it is. Just like we don't know what gravity is or what magnetism is. We can just measure these things and describe them and build amazing technology with them. So even if you don't know what something is, and you tell yourself a story that isn't even true, you can still use it to build a successful model of the world. This is one of the things that I want you to get from this video is you can build a model out of something that is actually wrong and still be functional, which is just crazy. But that is the world that we live within. You may not truly understand what something is, but if you can describe it, if you can measure it, and, figure out if I do A, B happens, that's all you need to be able to do. You don't have to know what it is and what's really happening, even though we'll tell ourselves. That's the other part. Our stories can be wrong, but we still tell ourselves a story and we believe them to be true because they give us positive outcomes that we want. All right, so that's one part. But we can't see light. So what's going on? And what's another way of using this understanding? For me, light is a metaphor for how our reality works. So here we are. As you know, I use the toroidal field as our model for what I believe is happening in our created space that we live within, or simulated space, whatever you believe it to be. So source is in the middle here, and I call this the tree of life, and this is the tree of knowledge. Potential flows out here into the field of experience. We engage with this potential, and it returns. But there's also it's a bipolar flow. There's another force that goes the other way, and that is awareness flows from the tree of knowledge. It comes out into the field of experience, and it returns as consciousness. So you have a lot of folks that believe that the world is suddenly consciousness. You have the material worldview that everything is just atoms and particles and whatnot, and consciousness sprang up from that. And then we have this new, the cool kids all think that consciousness was first, and it generated the material world from there. And I'm kind of I'm in between, of course. I have to be contrary to everybody, I suppose. But for me, consciousness is this product of a sovereign being, a sovereign sensory being, engaging with potential that is charged by awareness. And this generation of experience, this process of the awareness, the sensory reception of, or the sensory engagement with potential, awareness through sensory engagement to potential creates both experience and it creates consciousness. And this is the world that we live within. What does this have to do with light? Well, here we are. I believe that the universe is a fractal pattern of toroidal fields. Every time a creative experience happens, like you get a new job, new relationship, have a child or something, come up with a new cool idea, it fractals off one of these toroidal fields. And so you have this huge, massive chain that generates the universe. I call it the bipolar dipole toroidal fractal verse. Silly name, but it is what it is. So we have this. We're here. This is source. Source emanates potential. We engage through our sensory apparatus with potential, and we return experience. Here it is. With the other flow, we have awareness, engaging with potential, and it returns experience and consciousness. And this is the world that we live within. And the way this light metaphor works is like this. An awareness through the sensory apparatus of our avatars, engage with potential. Potential is just information. It's living information from source. Our engagement with it, our painting it with awareness our attention. Attention and awareness are different, but awareness itself is what generates it facilitates the phase shift of information from potential to material. This is the model that I am proposing. That just like light doesn't, you can't see it, doesn't really exist. But once it engages with the physical, it phase shifts and paints the object and it becomes apparent. The same is true with awareness through this sensory apparatus. It takes a sovereign sensory apparatus to generate experience and consciousness. That is the metaphor of light. So it's like, another way to look at it is like, imagine like, an invisible person. If you took like flour and sprinkled it on them, suddenly you would see the outline of their body. You still can't see them. They're still invisible. Like light is still invisible. Our awareness and potential are still invisible, but it's this merging causes a phase shift that brings it into something that is now measurable. It is something that is now experienceable. This is what it is to see the light, because we can't. And it is that exact metaphor that explains exactly how our reality works. Our awareness through the sensory apparatus engaged with potential makes the material phase shift into what we would call existence. And as long as entropy doesn't drag it back to source to be collected and reused again back out into this field of experience, this being, this creation, this simulacrum, this whatever you want to call it, this matrix, this what are all the cool kids saying nowadays, that we're in some sort of soul trap, whatever you want to call it. Attention is what keeps it up and in the field of experience, and entropy drags it back down. I guess I'll briefly just go ahead and touch on what attention is. Attention is, and the reason why it's so important. Attention is this awareness flow into our avatar, and as it engages with potential. If you engage creatively with intuition and imagination, you co-create the world, you co-create the universe, you fractal off a new source, a new fractal of experience, of being. That is done through attention. Attention feeds the things that are here. It is the life-giving force. It's not just awareness. Awareness is just the observation. It's like in video games, it's the mapping. It's the what do you call it when it generates the map? Whatever. It's the generation of the map. That's the wrong word, but kind of drawing a blank on it. Renders. It's just the rendering of the map. But when a creative, sovereign being engages with this generated map, and engages with potential, that's what creates consciousness. That's the real magic of it all. That's the reason why everyone wants your attention. It's the most powerful thing that you have. I just was exposed to this person. Her name's Simone Weir or something. Amazing philosopher who understood philosophy, and understood attention, the true creative power of attention. And I'm just noticing that Ian McGilchrist is starting to say that, like, your attention is a moral There's a moral force in the world, and that is the truth. We create the future, and through this apparatus, by aiming our attention, we literally generate what's going to show up tomorrow. But all that aside, that is done through this emanation merging with the potential. And when it's witnessed and when it's seen, it phase shifts into being. This is how it all works. Yeah. So we can't see light, and we cannot see potential. We cannot see experience, and we cannot see awareness, and we cannot see consciousness. This is the ether. But when you engage with them, they phase shift into something that is measurable. So, my friends, learn to engage your attention and grow the things that you wish to see in this world. Even if you believe you're in some sort of soul trap, you can spin off your own fractal. That's why you'll meet people. You can meet, like, I've talked about how, like, you can meet like 10 people who are born and raised in the same city, and they have different lifestyles and whatnot. And if you spend a day or a couple of days following them around, they will show you completely different sides of the city that the other people have spent their whole entire life in there never knew existed. That's because even in this same shared physical space, we generate our own fractals of experience, of potential, of being. That's the power of imagination and intuition when we focus our attention properly. I hate to say properly, but when we use our power of our attention for what it really is, phase shifting potential into the material. My friends, until then, I hope this ramble made some sense, because I think I'm going to have to post this one. I don't know. My friends.